For this video, I will be talking about a Super Nintendo game that, unlike the games I reviewed prior to this video, was not released on the original Super Famicom or the original Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The subject of this video is Star Fox 2, a great sequel to one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. Without going into all of the details, Star Fox 2 was ready to be launched on Super Famicom and Super Nintendo in the mid-90s, but Nintendo cancelled the game due to concerns that the game's 3D graphics would be unfavorably compared to the 3D capabilities of the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation. The game went unreleased until 2017, when Nintendo included the game in the Mini Super Famicom and Mini Super Nintendo consoles. In addition, Nintendo made the game playable on the Nintendo Switch Online's Super Famicom service and Super Nintendo service in 2019. I will now talk about the premise of Star Fox 2. Following his defeat in Star Fox 1, a revenge-consumed Andross launches another invasion of the Lylat system. He conquers all of the planets in the Lylat system except for Canaria, which is on the verge of being taken over by Andross. General Pepper of the Canarian army, with no alternative, calls upon the Star Fox team yet again. The Star Fox team agrees to help again, and the team this time has 6 members. The 4 members from the first game, Fox McCloud, Falco Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and Slippy Toad, are aided by 2 new recruits, a female lynx named Miu and a female dog named Faye. I will now talk about the gameplay. Unlike in Star Fox 1, the player chooses 2 characters to play as from the 6 Star Fox team members. Basically, how the character mechanic works during the game is that the player controls 1 character at a time and can switch between the characters on the map screen. In addition, if one character dies and the partner is still alive, the partner takes the dead character's place for the rest of the game. Regarding the playable characters and their R-Wings, there are 3 types of R-Wings and 2 pilots for each type of R-Wing. The 3 R-Wing types differ greatly, adding depth and replay value to the character roster. The R-Wing types each having 2 pilots means that the player can use 2 R-Wings of the same type to focus on the type's advantages. The player can also choose 2 different R-Wing types for versatility. As a result, the pair mechanic expands upon the depth and replay value of the character roster to give the game large degrees of depth, strategy, and replay value. The game has 3 difficulty levels, the highest of which has to be unlocked before it can be played. The difficulty levels differ not only in terms of difficulty, but also in terms of missions. Therefore, the difficulty levels give the game large amounts of depth, variety, and replay value. Further adding to the replay value is the fact that the game records scores. On the subject, the scoring system is deep and each component of the score feels rewarding. The core gameplay consists of 2 components, a 2D map screen and a 3D action mode which plays similarly to Star Fox 1. The 3D mode also has polygonal graphics similar to the graphics in Star Fox 1. As with Star Fox 1, I think Star Fox 2's 3D graphics show their age, but I like the graphics for their simplistic charm. They help create the illusion of a 3D environment, and it helps that most of the 3D models are of inorganic objects. A major difference between Star Fox 1 and 2 is that while the movement in Star Fox 1 is on rails, Star Fox 2 allows for free movement within a 3D area. The map screen, which I'd like to say is detailed and well drawn, consists of Corneria in the lower left corner, a defense satellite that defends Corneria, 6 other planets, Titania, Meteor, Fortuna, Macbeth, Venom, and Eladard, and Andross's base Astropolis, a space station positioned near the Lylat system's sun and shown in the upper right corner of the map. The player's objective is to destroy all of Andross's forces before Canaria's damage can reach 100%. Canaria can be damaged by missiles launched from enemy bases stationed on planets occupied by Andross forces. Canaria can also be damaged by enemy squads launched by space carriers called cannon betrayers and by the carriers themselves. The missiles, squads, and cannon betrayers all do a great job at adding suspense and excitement to the game. How the map component works is the player chooses their character's destination with a reticle, and the character moves automatically to the destination, while any on-screen mobile enemy icon moves in real time. On the subject, I love that after a mission, time is frozen until the player character moves. This allows the player to analyze icons and look around the map without feeling rushed. If the character comes into contact with a missile icon or an enemy squad icon, the player enters 3D mode and fights the missiles or enemy spacecraft in space fights. When all missiles or spacecraft in a group are destroyed, the group's icon is destroyed. The defense satellite is a great help in destroying missiles or squads. If the satellite is fully charged and sees a missile or squad, the satellite instantly destroys the missile or squad. On the subject, the satellite destroying an enemy is very satisfying. On Hard and Expert, there are enemy spacecraft called brain spoilers that can hijack the defense satellite and make it shoot Canaria. These add depth, suspense, and excitement to the game. To destroy an enemy base, the player's character must touch the planet the base is on, then complete a 3D mission consisting of a segment on the planet's surface and a segment inside the base. In the surface segment, the player has to complete an objective which ultimately unlocks the base. The segment taking place inside the base includes puzzle solving, corridor navigation, and/or mid-boss fights, and ends with a boss fight against the base's core. The surface segments of the planet missions are greatly varied and deep, and the base segments are deep and add a welcome dungeon exploration feel to the game. The planet missions end in a satisfying way with the base exploding and a great victory song. The Cannon Betrayer missions consist of an outer space segment in which the player has to fly to a cannon betrayer while dealing with enemies or obstacles, and a segment inside the cannon betrayer which is similar to the base segments and ends with a battle against the cannon betrayer's core. The outer space segments are exciting and have cinematic feels to them, and the interior segments have the same great and deep dungeon exploration feel as the planet bases. Like the planet missions, the Cannon Betrayer missions end with a satisfying explosion and a great victory song. One of my favorite things about the gameplay is possible on planets and inside Cannon Betrayers, the R-Wing's Walker mode. On planets and inside Cannon Betrayers, an R-Wing can switch between flight mode and a bipedal walker mode. The R-Wing in walker mode can stand still, activate ground switches, turn better than in flight mode, and has automatic aiming. As a result, the walker mode adds depth and strategy to the planet and Cannon Betrayer missions and adds to the fun of the whole game. Another great thing about the planet and Cannon Betrayer missions is the giant medallions hidden in the missions. These add to the exploration component of the game and give the game a great amount of replay value. Further adding to the replay value is the fact that each difficulty level has its own set of medallions. Other missions that the player has to complete are space battles against boss enemies. There are two types of boss fights in the game: duels against fighter pilots from the Wolf team and fights against enemies called Hunters. The Wolf team is an anti-Star Fox team, if you will, consisting of the leader, Wolf, and his teammates, a pig named Pigma, a chameleon named Leon, and a lemur-like pilot named Algae. The duels against Wolf Team pilots are fun because of the idea of fighting a spacecraft with the same abilities as the R-Wings. The Wolf Team's dialogue and the excellent and intense song also add to the fun. There are 4 possible hunters that the player can fight, one of which is the Mirage Dragon, the dragon shown in the game's opening sequence. How the hunter component of the game works is that eventually the game is interrupted by a cutscene in which Andross sends out either 1 or 2 hunters, and hunters appear as sparkles on the map that move towards the player character. On normal, Andross always sends the Mirage Dragon. However, on hard he sends 1 randomly selected hunter, and on expert he sends 2 randomly selected hunters. The hunter battles are greatly varied, fun to fight in their own ways, and have an excellent and unsettling song which adds to the tension and excitement. The Star Fox team's mothership is a great convenience for 2 reasons. 1, it can completely heal the player's characters, and 2, it can warp to planets not occupied by Andross forces. Both conveniences reduce potential frustration, and the warping is a great time saver. The play control in the 3D mode takes some getting used to, but is overall great. The blaster and rolling are fun to use as in Star Fox 1, and the 3 special weapons, bombs, health recovery, and shields, are all fun and useful in their own ways. Unlike in Star Fox 1, The blaster can be charged. The charged blasts are satisfying to fire and greatly help with the pacing of combat. I love the game's entire soundtrack, not just the songs I have already mentioned. The map screen song goes well with the game's dark sci-fi atmosphere and goes well with the tactical side of the game. The planet songs go well with their respective settings, go well with the game's atmosphere, and go well with the exploration aspect of the planets. My favorite planet songs are Eladard, Macbeth, and Titania's song. I will now talk about the final scenario. The final scenario begins with a great duel against Wolf, who is easily the most difficult member of the Wolf team. The duel is followed by a great sequence in which the player characters board the mothership warps to the vicinity of Astropolis, the Star Fox team emerges from the mothership, and the player character infiltrates Astropolis. The interior of Astropolis is deep and varied, is fun and rewarding to explore, and has an excellent and intense song. The song fits the fact that the end of the game is near, fits the game's atmosphere, and adds tension and excitement to the final mission. I will now talk about the final battles. Astropolis ends with two battles, the first of which is against Astropolis' core. The battle is a great homage to the core battles in the planet bases and the cannon betrayers. Functioning as Astropolis' core is Andross's cube-shaped core brain. The battle is followed by a cutscene in which the core brain goes down a shaft, and the player character follows the core brain down the shaft into a large room with a trippy background for the final battle. The final battle against Andross is fun, and I love that the structure and length of the battle depend on the difficulty, both for the replay value and for the fact that the increases in length and variety of the final battle as the difficulty increases feel rewarding. Andross's attacks are powerful and intimidating, the trippy background adds tension to the battle, and the excellent and unsettling song adds even more tension to the battle. The battle ends in a satisfying way with explosions and with Andross's core brain falling apart. I will now talk about the ending. The final battle is immediately followed by a great scene in which the player character escapes Astropolis and Astropolis explodes. The player character escaping the exploding Astropolis is satisfying, Astropolis falling into the lilac sun and exploding is satisfying, and the brief triumphant song that plays in the scene is satisfying. This scene is followed by another satisfying scene consisting of another brief triumphant song, a great voice clip of General Pepper saying, "Good work, Star Fox." Great voice clips from different Star Fox members, I especially like "Adios, Andross," and a satisfying sequence consisting of the Star Fox team boarding their mothership and the mothership itself warping through space. The credit sequence is great because of the excellent song, my favorite song in the game, and the cast of enemies that is shown during the credits. The song goes well with the end of a dark and dangerous space mission, goes well with the surreal side of the game, and has a great triumphant feel to it. The cast of enemies is a great way to remind the player of how far they have come, and the enemies are shown at great angles. A nice touch is that the way Andross is shown in the ending depends on the difficulty played. Overall, Star Fox 2 is a great sequel to the Super Nintendo classic that is Star Fox, thanks to its excellent soundtrack, deep tactical map mode, varied and well-executed 3D gameplay, great exploration, and great dark sci-fi atmosphere. These are also the reasons I will always be glad that Nintendo finally released Star Fox 2. That concludes my review of Star Fox 2. Take care.